Happy Memorial Day, everyone. I'd like to dedicate this to my mother's uncle, David Ross, who was in World War II, shot and killed in Okinawa, Japan, during World War II. Forward today, in Kyoto, Japan, there's been treaty discussions over the regulation of carbon dioxide. Today I'd like to talk to you about a different perspective on regulation. It goes without saying that the regulations that have been proposed so far have been very, very expensive and hotly debated, not just within the economic community, the fossil fuel industry, but also with so-called skeptics. Skeptics, however, have not looked at, in my view, alternative explanations of what's occurring and how much it would actually cost if there's a different explanation to what's occurring in climate. I argue that climate is biological and electrical and does involve carbon dioxide and does involve fossil fuels. However, the mechanism that I believe that is occurring is much different. The fossil fuel industry has pointed out a number of flaws in the greenhouse gas theory, but it's largely accepted that the theory is that carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas warms the atmosphere and then causes a feedback that increases the amount of cloud cover and then therefore warms the earth. A number of assumptions are made about how the clouds actually increase their coverage and warm the earth. But all the arguments essentially boil down to accepting for real that these feedbacks are occurring. What I'm arguing is that CO2 directly gets into clouds and affects its conductivity. And in so affecting the conductivity, changes the way that clouds behave, specifically how they vent and how then rainfall can occur and storms can occur. This has a profound different outlook, not just in terms of whether warming is occurring, but also climate stability, and then whether or not human activity is doing anything and what human activity is doing to climate. My view is that it's just as much about the rivers and what they are putting into our oceans as it is about carbon dioxide burned from fossil fuels. So very specifically, when a tropical storm exists near the mouth of a river, it removes carbon dioxide from the low pressure, just like drinking a beer. You shake it up and you open it up and carbon dioxide comes out of your beer. A big storm goes over the ocean and it removes carbon dioxide from the ocean. And if carbon dioxide increases the conductivity of a storm and helps it to organize, then as the storm passes a river, which has biological material that flows into it and increases the carbon dioxide of the local basin, then that's going to have an influence on whether rain occurs and whether there are feedbacks. It's also going to affect the global electric circuit and instabilities that could occur in that as well, which then has a threatening meaning in terms of climate. So I'm concerned not just with carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas from fossil fuels, but also what we've been doing with our rivers in terms of damming them up and deforestation and other things that change what flows into the oceans. It's a much different problem to look at it from a conductivity standpoint. But it also is a much different economic problem too, that requires intelligence in how we manage not just fossil fuels, but also our rivers. And the fossil fuels come in more or less as a ratio because of noise to intelligence and how the biosphere operates to modulate climate. Because carbon dioxide doesn't, once it gets in the atmosphere, it mixes and it really doesn't have any kind of local meaning to it. On the other hand, a river which flows material can have a very specific feedback meaning to the oceans and to how storms behave. So you have kind of a signal to noise issue there with carbon dioxide from fossil fuels versus carbon dioxide that is created in our basins from what our rivers do. So what needs to occur, in my view, is studies that indicate exactly what is occurring with the global electric circuit and with storms in relation to rivers and carbon dioxide contents in the ocean. And then policies need to be developed over how rivers are changed and altered and maybe intelligently altered in relation to the carbon dioxide use. Everyone have a great Memorial Day. Thank you for listening.